Welcome back to the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. We're brought to you by Yak Gadget. For all your kayak fishing accessory needs, go to yakgadget.com. Pelican cases, coolers, and lighting. Go to pelican.com. The 153 Bait Company. For all your hard and soft bait needs, go to the153anglers.com. Now let's get this show started.
What up, everybody? Welcome back to the Reel Down. Happy 2022. Hope everybody had a good holiday season, good Christmas. Hope everybody's staying healthy and enjoying whatever kind of wicked ass weather you're getting. Anybody that's paying attention in the YouTube lands or watching us on Facebook or anything, y'all see the OG Brian Schiller here with me. What's up, brother?
What up?
Shit, man. I know y'all got crazy like cold weather up there in your neck of the woods, and then the first 2 days of the year for us Southerners has been exciting. We had tornadoes all over January 1st, and then it snowed less than 24 hours later.
Yeah.
Welcome to Alabama.
Yeah, no, that's more like Chicago weather, you know what I mean? But our temperatures dropped, and we got some snow last week, and then what was that? Saturday night we had a big snowstorm roll through, and Jay and I were out hunting in like whiteout conditions. The wind was blowing like 15 to 20. Like
That's awesome.
It was pretty gnarly and dumb at the same time. But it's definitely cooled down up here in the north. I was just talking to Caleb from Douglas Rods today, and I guess New York's finally getting like all our cold, so they're starting to freeze up there. So yeah, the north is turning into the tundra. But
I'm excited about it. We were talking off air before we got going, and I think last year started a new annual trip for me. For anybody that follows us, probably saw the pictures. Last year for Brian's birthday, I drove up to his neck of the woods, and he let this Southerner experience ice fishing, and I freaking enjoyed it. It was cold. Everything was frozen. It was snowing. I loved it. We caught tons of bluegill. I want to try to catch some pike or something out of there. Do little tip-up rigs this time.
Yeah, Jay's got the go-to for that. Like, I think we talked about it last time, but we got a YouTube video on the Paddle and Fin YouTube channel. Jay uses hot dogs to catch pike on tip-ups, and I think last year, the one day he came out, we caught like 3 or 4, and we kept him. They make good tacos.
What kind of size do you catch in your little lake?
So like we won't keep the limit is like they got to be at least 24 inches, which we kept a couple of those last year just because there was a lot in that size class.
Mm-hmm.
But you'll catch a lot between like that 22 to 30 inch range, and then quite a few times you'll run into like those 30 to 40 inch fish.
Are the 24 to 30, is that still a good eater, or is it kind of?
Oh, that's a perfect eater. It's like a walleye, right? Like walleyes, like a good eater is between like 16 and 20, and then like ones that you usually want to throw back are like those 24 to 30 inch fish. Like those are older, bigger females usually, but it's the same thing. Like, I mean, obviously with panfish, you want, a little bit bigger, but we were catching those perfect eater size last year. Like you want to, back in the day, like when I first moved out here and I was ice fishing, we used to like try to target those like 9 to 10 inch bluegills, but those are usually your big females, and you want to kind of let most of those go to help, keep, because they put off the biggest spawn every year. So we usually keep a lot of those like 7, 8, and 9 inch fish, so, or mostly 7 and 8s, but
I think we caught 156 fish in the 2 days
stupid.
or something. Yeah,
I think that was in the one day.
Might have been. I know I came home with a shit load of gills. And it was cold enough that they were just in a bag in the back of my truck, frozen solid from sitting on the ice.
Yeah.
And I had to thaw them out for like 3 hours. Once I got to Alabama, they did not ride in a cooler. They just rode in the back of the truck. It took forever to get them where I could clean them.
That's the beauty of ice fishing, man. You don't need a live well. You just throw them out the window of the shack and let them sit on the ice and freeze up.
Dude, I'm telling you, I'm sold on. I always wondered if I would enjoy it. I love the cold. I'm
Yeah.
so like I could probably like that could be like my winter thing, you know? Like I liked it that much. It's so much fun.
Yeah, it's one of those things like, you know, wintertime, I'm usually ice fishing from like middle of January to March. Then I transfer over to, bass fishing and kayak fishing and all that stuff. And then come October, it goes into hunting season and I go full bore with that till, January. And then the cycle repeats.
Yeah. I'm trying to find me a good cycle like that cuz this is the first year I haven't fished like kayak fished through the winter cuz we get to do that down here cuz you know I think I've seen once in my lifetime down here a pond freeze over that you could walk on.
Sure,
But
sure, sure, sure.
I dabbled with hunting some this year. Schedule wise, I didn't get to go as much as I wanted, which partially is my own fault. But I just don't feel like I was prepared for it. But now,
Yeah, yeah.
like first thing I did, woke up New Year's Day, put in for my Kentucky elk tag.
Nice.
Put in for Wyoming and Utah elk tags. So like started it off on the right foot. Got my list of things to get ready for hunting season for next year. But that's not why we're here. We were here to talk about fishing. I'm trying to get back in that mode.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
before we get into that, again, for everybody that's been with us for a while, welcome back. This is season 5, right?
Yeah, season 5.
Season 5 of the Paddle and Fin podcast. If you're new and you don't know what we're all about, welcome. We're glad to have you. You can check us out on all the social media platforms. You can listen to us on any podcast platform. Check us out on Facebook. You can check us out on YouTube. This show specifically is The Reel Down. You were probably came here because someone told you it's a great place to hear about the kayak fishing tournaments that's been going on in the country, wherever. We try to cover most of the national trails, and then I do my best to keep you in tune with what's going on around the country with, scores and updates from events each weekend. We'll get, random anglers on. We like to reach out to all the clubs across the country, like the All American Kayak Series. Sometimes they'll have like 70, 80 people show up to an event. They'll have great numbers, big payout, and most of the time it's a really good fishing weekend, so the numbers look good. We'll
Sure.
get those winners on, club directors and stuff. So if you're new to it, this show is not how it normally is. This is just a welcome back show. And on top of that, me and Brian are just going to talk a little bit about what's going on with Paddle and Fin. And then me and him are kind of ganging up and going to attack some national tournament fishing this year. We're just going to talk about our plans for the year. So if you want to talk about Paddle and Fin, anything coming up, we got anything that you're ready to talk about going on this year?
Yeah, the biggest thing is Drew Gregory and Ken Morris were doing the river bass and fantasy kayak fishing, which Paddle and Fin hit kind of took over middle of last season. So the fantasy kayak fishing is coming back. We're actually adding a segment dedicated to that. That'll probably air every other week with like fantasy updates. We will talk about obviously we'll have to talk about some of the tournament finishes in that. But it's going to be a lot of just fantasy focused stuff. Armando and myself will be doing that podcast. We're going to make like our predictions on where we may see some anglers move, some folks to maybe watch out for the up tournaments, things like that. So we're working with Fantasizer to get all that set up. So that's something real cool, and we're trying to make it interactive like fantasy football, where you could actually like trade players throughout the season, like switch up your roster, things like that. Maybe, you start off with like a few more well-known names, and some of them aren't doing so hot at partway through the season, and you see a young up and coming person like last year, Ewing Minor, big talk of the town, like kid was crushing it. So you add him to your roster and things like that. So we're trying to make it more interactive and engaging, and we're working with the folks at Fantasizers for that. That should be live. The first podcast will be live January 11th, and then it'll be live for you to sign up for the game as well. And then we're working on some sponsors and stuff for that whole thing. I don't want to release too much info, but there will be some prize packs and some incentives. The game's free to sign up. It's a good way to follow along, like all these anglers throughout the season and stuff like that. And then obviously you can hear them talk about their tournaments here on Jimmy's segment, The Reel Down, and get a little more feedback, maybe make some more important choices on how you pick your team players, going into that weekend or whatever it may be. And should be cool. It includes the Bass Series, the Hobie Bass Open Series, KBF, and then I believe we're going to also include the Midwest or the All American Kayak Classic Series as well, because the Midwest kind of got like screwed on national events this year. So we figured like that wasn't fair to the Midwest anglers. So I think you're going to see a lot more people fishing that. You know what I mean? So. And well-known names and some names that you may not even know. So I think we're going to include their roster into that as well. So we're kind of formulating everything we went through the other night and set salaries for like all the anglers that placed in the money last year. And we made it a little more challenging. Like last year, you could kind of pick like 4 or 5 hammers, like with your salary cap. Like your salary cap's 50,000, and the way Drew and Ken had it set up is like, you could pick like Drew Gregory, Christine Fisher, Guillermo Gonzalez, and like another person, and like that was your 4. So what we did is we kind of changed it. So Guillermo is the most expensive player. He made the most amount of money last year. I think it was $72,000 he made this past season. So his salary is 25,000. So that's half your salary cap right there if you pick Guillermo. So and then it goes down, and the lowest players or the lowest anglers is like 5,000 a piece. So, you got to kind of be strategic now. You can't just like pick random 4 like well-known sticks, you know what I mean?
How much did I mean, not to get too far into it, but since we're here, so if he's number 1 angler and he's 25 grand, like what's the price difference between the number 1 angler and the number 2 earning angler?
So number 2 earning angler was Christine Fisher. So she's $24,000.
Okay.
So for like that top 10,
that way you
I
can't
think,
stack it any way.
Yeah. So for that top 10, I think what we did is we went down like $1,000 or $500 increments. So that way you couldn't stack your team like that. Like, I mean, you could, but you'd only have like 2, maybe 3 players on your team, whereas I believe you're allowed up to 6. So it's just a little bit more strategic, a little more strategy, which should make it a little more engaging and a lot more fun. Our website will be updated in the next week or so with like those salary standings, like how those people finished last year money wise. We got a pretty cool spreadsheet that Susie Roloff put together that's got like, where these anglers won their money last year. Like for instance, who was the guy that won Possum Kingdom?
Mark Pinograph.
I always want to say it's like Joe McElroy or something like that for some
he was
reason.
second place.
That's what it is. So like last year he made 25,500, and that was all on that one event. So his salary isn't as much, but he's still up there. as far as like cost wise. So like, that's the thing too. There was a few anglers that like made all their money last year at the KBF National Championship. So, when you're going through, like, you want to look at that, kind of look at where like schedules are. Not only that, but you could like go in and look at Tourney X and Fishing Chaos and see who signed up for what tournaments coming up for that weekend. Make some changes and stuff like that. So it should be fun, man. Super pumped to get that going. It'll be a different thing. It's something new for kayak fishing. Should bring even more of a spotlight to some of the anglers that, not only finish well, but the guys that finish in the money. You know what I mean? There's many times where I fished and I finished in the money and I didn't get to talk to cool people like Jimmy Skinner in interviews. So
That's because nobody cares, Brian.
I know,
Running
but
back your entry fee's not doing too hot, man.
I did a little better than that. A little better than that. But
Hey,
yeah, it'll be something new. Plus Ken Morris is doing a new segment with the old river bassin trail. He's doing some like reminisce podcasts on that and bringing back some river fishing. So they're going to be talking a lot about that. Him and some of these anglers. We brought on Shane Lamont, Bass Thumbs Fishing, who spotlights the California scene and the whole West Coast. That was towards the end of last year. So stoked for that, man. And yeah, we're just going to keep plugging along. So
heck yeah. So if for anybody that hasn't gathered from what he's talking about, we got a lot of show options. I
yeah,
couldn't even. I think we've got what 10 now, maybe 11.
it's more than that.
Oh,
So Monday is bass fishing for noobs. Tuesday is bass kayak and beers. Monday is Sean Lavery, bass fishing for noobs. Tuesday is Armando Sola with bass kayak and beers. Wednesday is your show, Reel Down. Thursday is the final cast, product review spotlight show with Josh Eldridge and Brad Hicks. Thursday night is live with me and Jay Randall. Friday is usually when Bass Thumbs goes up, along with Ken's new River Bassin show. Saturdays is either Feather and Fur with Brad Hurlboss, which is like a hunting specific show, or Jason Piskowski with Off the Water, focusing on things to do around fishing destinations. And then Sunday is Chasing the Tide with Dustin Nichols or Mindset podcast. So, and then the new fantasy show. So that's 12.
12.
Yeah.
And then if there's the river, well, you said the river bassin one's on Friday.
Friday. It'll be
Okay.
once a month on Fridays. It'll be the first Friday of every month is when River Bassin thing will go up. And I know Ken just recorded his first one tonight. Obviously, we're recording Monday night.
So we got options, folks. So moving on from that, let's get into what we got going on coming up in the year, man. I think I'm pretty stoked for it. Like I said, me and Brian did some talking. Brian kind of took a break from tournament fishing, and just like everybody does, he got that itch. So we got talking about kind of teaming up, traveling around. That makes traveling for anybody that doesn't tournament fish and travel. Doing it with people. You don't have to fish right with them or anything like that. But having people in the house, split camping, anything, man, it helps. And something you see out of a lot of the top anglers, kind of period. Bass boat, kayak fishing, or anything, because they've got a good group of people because they all bounce ideas off of each other. You can learn and feed off of each other's positive energy, negative energy, everything. So
it's that
I
camaraderie thing, man.
Oh yeah, it's like best times I've had. Pickwick, shared a house with a few good guys. We had a great time, and that was it was a very calm, low key setting. Shared a house in Texas with 7 guys, and that was the more not party because we didn't do anything like that, but just a lot more loud, cut up, goofing off, going to bed late, not
Yeah.
taking it as serious as we should have. And that was fun too. And then you attack some of these tournaments by yourself, and you never know, man. If you're not somebody that's got the head game for it, man, sometimes having if those people around, your buddies, it'll help. You can realize they're struggling too, or they can lend you the information that you may need.
Yeah.
So we talked about doing that, and we searched all the schedules when they came out. Um, like uh, like you said, man, the Midwest got shafted from the 3 major trails, straight
Hard.
shafted.
I think
And
the only event coming to the Midwest for the majors is
the Susky, isn't
Hobie.
it?
Hobie is going to the Wolf River in
Oh, that's right.
Wisconsin, which I still don't understand that. That's got to be tourism dollars or something like.
Yeah.
Not the best fishery in the world. Like if you were going to choose, I could think of 10 other bodies of water to fish in Wisconsin rather than the Wolf River. But again, like it'll be interesting, like that's what changes it up. There's not a ton of info out there. I know, like, what was it? The National Professional Bass League. Is that what it
In
is?
the MPFL or whatever.
Yeah, whatever that is.
NP. Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
They fished it this past year, and I think like first place came in with like 6 to 8 pounds a day.
Whew,
Yeah, so
tough.
it's a tough fishery. Like you'll catch a lot of short fish, that's for sure. It's going to be a struggle to find some of those bigger ones. But it'll be interesting, man. It's I'm not trying to knock Hobie for going there. Like I think you got to add diversity, right? Like we've had that conversation before, and I think it was even with Drew. Like he's like, I'd like to see some different bodies of water that not everybody's fishing like uh you know, things that Bass goes and fishes, MLF, things like that. Like, there's so many great bodies of water out there that could be fished. And
Hmm.
a lot of times they get overlooked, like I know KBF one time did the Winnebago chain, which decent fishery. Wolf River feeds into that. It's okay. But I mean, like Green Bay, dude, like Green Bay gets overlooked because it's a big body of water, but like same size smallmouth is what you catch over in St. Clair. St. Clair's a big body of water. Like, what the heck? Why does that get overlooked? Lacrosse has been kind of beaten to death the past few years, but at the
It's the
same
one that
time,
everybody loves to
everybody
go to.
loves fishing it.
Yeah.
So All American Kayak Classics going there. But I mean, there's other lakes around the country too. Same respect. Like a lot of them get overlooked, and they're huge bass factories.
I like a good mix. Like I don't think that every event of the year should be on, a destination lake.
Right. Exactly.
I like the
Exactly.
change. I said it when I talked to the All American guys. I loved when MLF, and they may still do it because they've got so many like different divisions now. But when MLF was first getting going, like on TV, they would
Yep.
take 20 guys, not tell them where they were going. Like,
Yeah, that's
I mean,
cool.
obviously we can't do that, but my point is it showed there's other bodies of water, and some of them are like hidden gem fisheries, that you would never
Absolutely.
think about. And I mean, obviously, there's all sorts of stuff. All of this is a business. And there's so much stuff that has to be taken in account of. There's permits. You need plenty of places for people to put in. Tourism dollars is a big thing. Who can help you with a venue? Blah blah blah. There's tons of it that goes in it. And then there's like even on a local level, down here at Pickwick, like the same municipality wants our local club to come back every year. So like,
Yeah.
it's kind of
Yeah.
hard
Yeah.
not to. They're like, hey, here's
Sure.
money. You're like, oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Right. Right.
Thanks for making it
And,
easy.
and I mean that's a lot of what drives that. But like I remember back in 2019, the first event I fished for KBF was in Kansas. I couldn't even tell you the lake off the top of my head. One of the coolest lakes I've ever fished. It reminds me like of like those bayou lakes down south with all the cypress trees everywhere. It was a flooded reservoir, so there's like trees sticking out everywhere. Like that's kind of up my alley, and caught a lot of good fish at that lake. And dude, I'd go back, and it's in Kansas. Who would ever thought like there's badass lakes in the middle of Kansas? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then like on the flip side of that, right? Like I went straight from there to Nickajack Lake, which you always hear about Chick and Gunnersville.
There's a
Nickajack's right in
whole
between.
lake between them.
And like, dude, I caught some freaking tanks. And that's the tournament that Bogdan Korvosky won from Michigan. And I think he had like, I think it was like 90 some inches a day, you know, fishing a huge grass flat way out in the middle of nowhere. But
we have the same thing with you hear about Wheeler and Pickwick. Well,
yep,
Wilson Lake's right in between them. It's
sure.
just as good. It just gets overlooked because it's
Yep.
like it's not as pleasing when you look at the map. It doesn't have as much going on. Same thing with Nickajack. If you look at Nickajack on the map,
Yeah.
when you're right in the middle, I mean, I still right now every day I'm gonna go to Gunnersville first, just because I know it and it's juicy. You know.
It's funny. I was just talking to Jay over the weekend because, you know, he's moving to Tennessee. And I was like, dude, if I come down there, we got to go fish Nickajack. Like, especially if it's that right time of year. Like, I got some spots. And he's like, oh, okay. Okay. Because he's going to be right down the, I think he's like half hour, 45 minutes away from Watts Bar where he's moving.
Yeah.
So
That's
he's
about
up
right.
there like northeast Tennessee or whatever it is. He's got what, Norris Lake right there, and what's that other big one? There's Norris and
I can't remember.
I forget. We did a meetup there one time, but either way, like, you know, there's stuff like that. Like I know, didn't Hobie go to Watts Bar last year or something?
Mhm.
Yeah. So
Watts
I
Bar
mean,
is a good lake.
yeah,
I mean, most of the
yeah.
Tennessee
I've
water is
never fished it,
fantastic.
but I'd love to. I'd love to fish that.
That I really wanted to go to that one, and I think it was the same time we were at the beach or something like that, which I ended up having a COVID, so I wouldn't have been able to do it either anyway. But yeah, there's tons of killer water that they've hit occasionally or that gets overlooked. But
Sure.
so what we did was me and you talked about it, and it was, do we want to chase one and chase an angler of the year situation, or do we just want to go places that we want to fish? Which that kind of appeals to me more anyway, just because I like to travel,
Yeah.
and I don't know why it doesn't. It's maybe because like AOY, yeah, like if I won the first event in KBF, I could guarantee you I probably still would not fish any more KBF events, just because it's like looking at their schedule, they have two events I want to fish: Kissimmee
Yeah.
Chain and Gunnersville. The only reason I want to hit Gunnersville is because it's 45 minutes from me and it's my favorite lake.
Sure.
So
Yeah.
I'm not swayed by AOI like a lot of people like that are trying to make a living doing this are.
Yeah, and I'm kind of in the same boat because I'm in the Midwest. Like, you know, like we were talking before we started, like I'm considering going and fishing that Kissimmee event. We were originally talking about doing the Bass Lake Fork event and then, you know, doing that uh Harris Chain Bass event later in March. And it's like, you think about it like, okay, well, if I do well in those two, like, do I keep fishing all the bass events? Because now they have the AOI system and all that stuff. Like, you know, AOI is a very prestigious title in any fishing organization, for sure. But like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, it's like I look at it like I got limited vacation time. Like now I'm either stretching my pre-fishing, not getting as much in as I'd like, or you know, like I'm showing up to the lake day of and like swinging for the fences. Like, does that make sense? Maybe yes, maybe no. It all depends. But, um, you know, I'd rather just go out and show love to everybody. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Um, and I'll be honest, like I'm not planning on fishing any Hobie events, and that's nothing against Hobie. Hobie does an awesome job. I've never fished a Hobie event, but I'm a fat, lazy guy and I like to use a motor. So like that's why I don't fish it. Like That's my choice. And I give AJ all the credit in the world, man. He does a kick-ass job. Like, obviously, everybody's seen like how well that series has grown. But with that being said, I want to fish a couple bass events, hopefully qualify for the classic for the following year, fish a couple KBFs, and fish a couple All-American kayak classics, man.
Yeah.
Show everybody some love.
Yeah, and that's like that's what we've got. We've got on the schedule now. We start out Lake Fork, which is up in the air because of Lake Fork's drawn down. A lot of the ramps are being closed, which by bass rules that means it's not legal, even though we can walk around the barrier with our kayak, etc.
Yeah.
So got to play that one to see if there's going to be rule changes, a lake location change, date change, whatever, reschedule. We were going to go from there down to the Harris Chain in Florida with bass again, like you said, which would be great. I'd love to fish that chain of lakes. I hear a lot of the guys I know Bass Boat World talk very highly about fishing down there.
Yeah.
Then we were going to swap
Tanks.
over. Yeah, I mean, it's Florida. I feel like everybody's fucking pond down there has got a 10 in it. Like, Florida's just different.
Probably.
But after that, we were going to swap it up, hit the All American Kayak Series event, Lake St. Clair. There were two trails going there. KBF, I think, is one of them, but they moved the event back a month from what they normally do. And for the
Yeah.
last 2 years, they've hit it on the June 4th and 5th, or first weekend of June, and they catch the spawn perfect there.
Yep.
And it takes like 90 inches was 25th place like 2 years in a row.
Yeah.
So,
I think last year was over 100 for like top 10 or something.
yeah,
Something
ridiculous.
stupid like that. It was crazy.
Then we're gonna stick with the All American Kayak Series. Like we were talking about lacrosse, man. I love lacrosse.
Yep.
Pretty close for you. They're hitting up lacrosse and doing a 3-day event, so that'll be interesting. And then you were gonna come swing down my way in April. KBF's gonna be down here on Gunnersville, a good time of year. According to how our weather plays out, if we get warm early, it'll be post spawn. But if the cold weather, we have those late March cold snaps and stuff,
Yeah.
we could still be playing with spawning fish, pre, post. It could get interesting down there. But it's kind of all up in the air. For me, it was, like I said, I don't really care about chasing the AOY. Like, what I would do is if I won a bass or the qualified for the Bassmaster Classic, that's my goal. I don't need the AOY title. I just want to get to that event.
Yeah, exactly.
All American Kayak Series, they have a
Championship as well.
at the end of the year. It'd be cool to make that. And then KBF, qualify for their NC. Say what you want, about it. People, talk about how it's the easiest one to qualify for because of the online monthlies and stuff like that. But it's still a cool, event to be in just because it brings in so many people. They do their little expo. Especially if you look back this last one that they just did, everybody was happy with it. Everything seemed to run smooth. It was a cool venue. Everybody I talked to enjoyed the expo. It was a consumer expo, so it wasn't just a look at stuff. You could buy product. And then the only other one I've probably add in that I'll do by myself. I mean, I may hit a couple locals, but Hobie's coming to Pickwick again, and that's less than an hour from my house too. So if, like, let's say the dates work out or something and I've got that weekend free, that's a lake I don't really have to put in too much pre-fishing time or anything. I can just go.
Sure.
And I may use that, and that way I can say I fished a Hobie, because I haven't fished one yet either. And the schedule's just like, I think the last 2 years, every weekend they've had an event. So weekend I have my daughter, and I don't want to like rotate weekends and stuff like that. It just becomes a headache.
Yeah.
So, but we'll see.
Yeah. I'm like so on the fence. Like, do I quit being a lazy fat guy and like just paddle my ass off again? Like, because I did that for years. You know what I mean? Or do I get a pedal drive for my new canoe? But I don't know, man. Yeah, I know. Like, it makes life easy, but I get why they do it. You know what I mean? But it'll be interesting. I'm sure, like, There's been a couple events that they've had where I'm like, "Ooh, I'd really like to fish that." But,
Oh yeah,
my belly's a little too big for that.
I I wanted to fish. They've had quite a few, man.
Yeah. They always
Lacrosse, I
gotta
couldn't make that date. Gunnersville couldn't make that
Yep.
date. Like so
They
many
always got a
places.
killer
Yeah.
schedule.
Now I talked with Sean. I really want to fish the Susky, but I
Yeah.
don't know if I want to spend the money entry fee wise to do it.
Sure.
Like I mean, it makes no sense if you're looking at it from the outside. I spend money on entry fees to go to places I've never been to all the time, but for some reason the Susky's the one I don't want to do that on.
Sure.
It's my kind of fishing, like moving water and stuff like that, and it's somewhere I want to just kind of relax and take my time. So I've been
Yeah.
talking with Sean because Sean lives up there by the Susky, and
Yep.
going and staying with him for a week and like just go explore the Susky and really just take my time and enjoy that one. But if that don't work out, who knows? Maybe I'll throw some money at it and go up there and try.
It's one
We'll
of
see.
those things, man. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't, you know?
That's right. But it'll be cool. I still, you know, Lake Fork things, the kind of the one I'm stressing about now. It's getting. I mean, we're in the new year. Um, I need to see what they're gonna do before I start to, like we book a house or whatever. Because I think Dan Perry was gonna join us,
Yep.
but if they're gonna close all these launches, then I don't want to be there. I mean,
Right.
there's ways around a lot of it. There's a lot of like off the beaten path launches on Lake Fork. Like just drive off the side of the road and throw your boat in. Lake Fork is very accessible, but there are
Well, doesn't
certain
it have to
places.
be with bass? Doesn't it have to be a designated ramp? Or
I don't
something
think
along
so.
those lines?
I think it just has
I
to be a public launch.
Okay.
Because when we were there for Lake Fork last year, we launched off of a public road at a bridge that everything on both sides is public. It wasn't a
Yeah.
ramp, but I mean, 60
Okay.
people did it, so I would assume it's legal. Like by what I
Hopefully.
read, it's legal. I could be wrong,
Okay.
but um,
And that's part my fault. Like I've kind of slacked and I haven't read completely through all their rules yet. Probably should get that done sooner than later, but yeah, I
I
was
need to
curious.
reread it just because you read across the three, and that's one thing that I hate. I wish they all had the same rules. I
Right.
mean, I know it doesn't make
Yeah,
sense to them. It'd be great if they were. That way, I don't have to like think about it.
it's always a pain, right? Like, but at the same time, you got to read up on them every year because there's always amendments,
Or
changes, things
revisions,
like
yeah.
that. And like, I've seen some people get burned over the years because they didn't read the rules, and it's the angler's responsibility. So, like, it's not like they have to come directly to you and be like, oh, by the way, we changed this rule. Make sure you don't do this. Like, it's your responsibility to know what's in your legal limits during the tournament,
Yeah,
So,
I'm really good about it when I get like I do over preparation before, like map
yep,
study,
yep,
and then once I have my map study done, let's say like for Lake Fork, I got all my study down before I got there, and then when we got there, put eyes on everything, and then when we got home the first night, I printed off the rules. You read through, so yeah, I know I was legal because I mean
yep,
that's just how I double check myself because like our local trail has rules that have that's what I would fish the most. None of our rules are the same as the national rules, so I've got to get
sure,
that shit out of my head before I
yeah,
just I
yeah,
just paid
yeah,
$250 in this event,
right.
but
That's the last thing you want to do is get DQ'd and burn all that money for absolutely nothing. You know what I mean?
oh yeah, and I mean it happens to the best of them. Like
Yep.
rules can be tricky. I mean, I think it was Russ in the TOC. Russ accidentally fished out of bounds because you know there was I think it was Russ, one of the guys at the TOC fished their first day out of bounds just barely,
This
and
year?
it's yeah,
Okay.
and it's it's not like they're doing it to cheat. Like sometimes you may misinterpret how something is said or may not realize that a rule that is in place affects where you're fishing. But again, it's on you to figure it out.
Yeah, I know there was an instance. I don't think it was last year. I think it was a year before. Dusty Yacker was fishing an event in Michigan, and he forgot to look at the rules ahead of time, and he launched early. So he called the TDs and he's like, "Hey, I launched early. I haven't fished yet." Realized it like 20, like I think it was like 10 minutes before lines in. And he was like, "I haven't fished yet, but I'm DQing myself. I launched early.
Yeah.
Like that was my fault. I didn't read the rules and
And
or
it had
or he assumed or something. I forget what the technicality was because I think Dusty has fished with those guys for a long time. I don't know if they changed up the launch time for that one or if it was just he assumed it was something, but it was actually something else. I don't know, but like as an angler, dude, like, and kudos to him, man. He could have fished. Nobody was around him. He could have just fished the day out and like turned in fish and won the damn event. But like, he was honest. He called the TDs and he was like, "Look, I made a mistake. DQ me. Like, I'm peacing out. See ya."
and it happens across the board, man. I was listening to the Meat Eater podcast the other day. They had Carl Jocumson and Brandon Polinick on, and Brandon
Yeah,
talked about the event on up in Wisconsin. I can't remember where they were, but uh, the state
probably
line kind of,
Sturgeon Bay or
I think
something.
that's what it was. The state line splits through in a way, and it kind of annexes certain areas. One
Yep.
state has a rule about culling fish that once you catch that fish, you cannot cull it, and the other state didn't. And he was
I think it's
100 feet over the line and didn't realize it.
yeah, I think it's if they were on Sturgeon Bay, yeah, I think it's Michigan. Like the Michigan state line comes up there by the peninsula. Um or it could have been the Mississippi, I don't know.
Yeah, I can't remember, but basically what it boiled down to is he thought he was where he was, like where he could cull. He caught his last fish and culled. Went in, had was leading the day, had a huge lead, like 6 or 7 pound lead, which is big in that, and was getting ready because he was in a deadline. He had to win to get into the classic, and
Mm.
there were 3 events left, and they called him that afternoon, and they were like, "Were you here? Did you do this?" And he's like, "Yeah," and they sent it to him, and they were like, "You're 100 feet over.
Ouch.
Your cold EQs you." He
Ouch.
made a joke and was like, "Well, it's okay. I guess I'll just win the next one." And he literally went to the next event and won it, and cashed 100 grand. But
That's crazy.
the whole point of that's a cool little story. But it happens,
Right.
But it's just on us, especially me and you this year. We're going to be bouncing around. We just got to be on top of it. And
If I get DQ'd, it's your fault. Just
probably
saying.
if you get DQ'd, it's because I called and turned you in. Like, let's be real. Like, that son of a
I saw
bitch was
that sneaky
cheating.
bastard.
He was catching them out of a barrel. Check the campsite. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it, man. I'm ready to do some traveling again. And I kind of don't care. Like, this whole season goes to crap. We can just go somewhere we've never been. Like, I thought about just saying, like, while we're up there for lacrosse, like, we should just swing on over to Mille Lacs. Go,
Oh,
go
dude,
catch some
yeah.
donkey football smallies. I mean, you're so
Football
close.
smallies. Dude, that is a world-class walleye lake.
I'm down for that too, because that's my favorite eating fish. Something else I
That's why I
took
bring
away
it up.
from being up there ice fishing. We went and had a walleye dinner, and oh
I
my
got I
god,
got some spots on Mille Lacs.
really?
Oh yeah.
Well, we can just scratch this tournament off and just go there if you want.
I'm
I mean,
I'm game, dude.
I don't
I'm
care. We
game.
literally can skip lacrosse for. I love lacrosse, but I hear too much good stuff about Mille Lacs.
Yeah.
That's one I don't understand why there's never a tournament there.
So Mille Lacs is Mille Lacs, dude, like interesting story. This is nothing to do with kayak fishing, but you're talking about ice fishing. Mille Lacs was like the first time I drove out on a lake like you see in like the movie Grumpy Old Men.
Yeah.
And like it wasn't like you drive 100 yards offshore. It was we were driving out to what's known as 3 Mile Reef. You're literally 3 miles out in the middle of this lake. And there's legit like ice roads plowed. And my buddy Scott had his shack. He's got one of those fancy shacks set up out there, dude. And I remember we drove out there at night, and then the next morning we woke up and the temperatures dropped like I think it was like -30 with the wind chill, and the wind was blowing like 30, 40 miles an hour. And I remember like walking outside to go take a leak, and like I thought I was on the moon, dude, because like snow is blowing and like you can't see shoreline, and I'm like, where am I? Like this is crazy.
Nothing
Crazy.
is creepier feeling. Now, some people live like this.
Yeah.
I have a sense of direction. You have a sense of direction.
Oh,
The
sure.
a creepy feeling is when you step somewhere and it's gone, and you
Yeah.
like you're looking around, like for whatever situation, like there's no sun, there's no moon, or the
Right.
wind's swirling, and you're just like,
Where am I? Where am I? Yeah. Yeah, like had I not known how we pulled in, like I would have no direction on which way is shore. And I remember like the next day, like the wind died down and it was like, holy crap, you could see forever. Because Mille Lacs is a huge, huge lake. But
huge lake.
yeah, dude, that was hairy. I remember we just pulled onto the ice and I like rolled the window down. I'm like, if we're going in, I'm jumping out the window, and my buddy's laughing at me the whole time. He's like, dude, the ice is legitimately 2 foot thick. Like, we're not going through.
With
I'm like,
my
dude,
luck, we'll find the
3
1/4 of an
miles
inch.
out? Like, are you kidding? Like, yeah,
You
but
need to. I need to send you a video that ran across today. Some guys were setting one of their ice shacks up, and I think the video was like, "Well, there goes this season," and like they set their shack down, and it has the pulley system that lifts the wheels up.
yep,
They
yep, yep,
lifted
yep.
the wheels up and unhooked the truck, and the ice shattered, and it started to sink, and they just like hooked the truck back up to it and were trying to drag it back up. And I was like, "No, it's gone.
No,
Bye." Like I'm getting off
no.
that pond.
Those things aren't cheap. They're badass though, because
God, some people
it's
have
like a camper, man.
ridiculous ones. Like,
Yeah, dude. My buddy's got like a stove in his, heat, air conditioning, like the stereo system, TV, like whole
it's
nine
like you
yards.
only have to wear winter gear to walk from the vehicle to the trailer.
Like legit, like in those things, you set up rattle reels when you go to sleep, and a rattle reel is just like a big round wooden reel. And on the inside of it, it's got like bells and stuff. And it's like a set line, and you set your bait down. And then when a fish grabs it and the reel starts turning, letting out line, it's a bell. So you set those at night and you wake up. There was one night I set my rattle reels, woke up at 4 a.m. and landed a 28-inch walleye.
That's
Like,
awesome.
I'm like, this is crazy. Threw it on the ice and went back to bed. like,
That's so
this is
cool.
nuts. This is nuts. But yeah, that's more ice fishing and
Yeah.
funny Mille Lacs stories.
Oh man. Well, before we close out, what you got show season wise? For everybody in kayak fishing that's listening to this show knows that probably the most fun part of kayak fishing for me, or fishing period, is I love outdoor expos, and we're about to start firing them up, man. I think the first one there's one this weekend, I think,
Yeah.
in Cincinnati. I think, is it Cincinnati?
I don't know if Cincinnati's this weekend or not.
I can't remember. I know there's one not right here that I was invited to, but yeah, man. All right, you got any shows that you're planning on doing? I know that one of y'all's big
Yeah.
shows got canceled.
Yeah, the Chicago Fishing Show got canceled. Part of that was due to uh, Cook County, aka Crook County, aka Chicago. They had a thing go into place January 1st that to go into any public place, you got to have be vaccinated and show proof of vaccination. So
Communists.
yes. So with that being said, like, um, the folks that run that show determined like we should probably cancel this. They had a lot of vendors cancel because of it. They were worried about turnout, things like that. So they ended up canceling the show. That was supposed to be end of January. So that got canceled. So not doing that show, but I am at the Indiana Fishing Show. What is it? The weekend of February 19th, 18th, 19th, and 20th. And then the following weekend, I will be at the Madison Fishing Show, February 25th, 26th, 27th. And then sometime in March, we'll be doing a virtual kayak fishing show through Rocktown Adventures that'll be streamed on
Y'all gonna do that again?
Rocktown's Facebook and YouTube page. And that's a lot of fun. A lot of guys on our team show out their rigged up boats, kind of walk through them. We walk through, some of the different rigs out there. I know, like, our Brad Hurlboss brought his hunting rig down with his like mud motor and stuff like that. So we kind of do that. And I showed off my kayak trailer setup with the rooftop tent, the Yakima rod box, all that crap. So folks can kind of get an idea of things and check them out. Basically, stuff we sell at the shop. And we'll be showing off some other models. We carry New Canoe Bonafide in Old Town and a little bit of Wilderness Systems. So, in Perception. So, we do carry, wreck boats as well, touring kayaks. So we don't show most of those off at our little virtual show. It's all fishing kayak stuff. But we will be doing that. I believe we're supposed to have the new Bonafide P127s by then, so we'll be showing those off. Definitely the Old Towns, the new canoes, and all that good stuff. So should be cool.
I think the one show that I want to go to turns out is they scheduled it the same weekend that me and you were supposed to be in Texas.
Okay.
But, according to how that goes, if we don't go to Texas, we'll go to Lebanon, Tennessee, and do the I think it's a hunting and fishing or fishing and boat show. I can't remember how they classify theirs. It's really cool. Music City Outdoors. We're getting the old Hook One booth for anybody that's listening from
Nice.
that area that comes to that show. It's a huge booth. Yak
Heck yeah.
Gadget is splitting our booth and getting his booth, so it'll be like even bigger. So we're gonna have
Nice.
like, when you walk in the main front doors, there's basically enough space for 2 large booths and 2 small booths. With what we're doing, we're basically going to take up one whole side of that first building, and then you go
Nice.
through that building, and it goes into a giant warehouse where there's vendors everywhere, bass boats, other kayaks, stuff like that. But
that
that
reminds
one,
me of the Indiana show. Is pretty huge. That's a 2-week long show, and like one weekend they do like the deer and turkey show with it. There's an RV show going on, camper and RV show, and then the other weekend is like got a motorcycle show.
it's a hell of an expo.
It legit takes like 3 days to walk through everything, and
That's
it's at
cool.
the Indiana State Fairgrounds, and the fishing hall is huge, but like the kayak stuff has this one corner with a big demo pool, and they got tons of inventory there. They restock inventory every day, like from boats they've sold and things like that. And that's that kayak shop there is Moving Water Outfitters just outside of Indianapolis. So I'll be there helping out in the new canoe booth. So I'm looking
I
forward to
think
that.
that I may make it to that one. John Thomas with the Yak Gadget's got a big show season coming up, and he reached
Yeah.
out to me about it, and I want to help out as much as I can. So, like, I
Heck
think
yeah.
I'm coming to Cincinnati. I think it was that one, Lebanon, Tennessee, the East Tennessee Fishing Expo, which is the big one in Tennessee. I've never been to it, but they say it's twice as good as the one in Lebanon. So I can only imagine what that's like. And then might swing out to California. He got an invite to come out there, and I have no interest in California other than to see it and come back to my normal part of the world. But it'd be cool to go out there and hang out with some Cali bass folks. So
I'd be game for that.
well, we
If you
need
don't
to hit
go,
him
I'm
back up
going.
because I think he's going by himself. Like,
Oh, yeah.
and I don't mean it like we're not invited. Like, I think he's planning on running the whole thing by himself. So he could
He needs
probably
some
use
help.
the help.
He needs some help. He needs some
Man,
help.
he's gonna run himself thin. But
for sure.
and one thing that I'm hoping that we can do, so a couple things that's been going on in kayak industry since we last talked. Some of us that are associated with dealers got to take a little peek at Drew Gregory's new boat.
Yep.
And I was super stoked about that. Don't message me. I'm not going to tell you a damn thing about it. It's not going to happen. I'm sworn to secrecy. But it is sick, and I can't wait. And our shop, Music City Outdoors, is actually, they passed Austin Kayak and Austin Canoe and Kayak at the end of the year, and we are the number one Crescent dealer in the country. We
Oh,
sold
cool.
more Crescent boats than anybody else. So
Nice.
when I saw Drew's boat, I messaged Drew and was like, "Hey, as a thank you, you should bring that boat to our fishing show. The only expo my shop's doing all year." I was like, "I think you should bring it." And they just had a baby, so he was like, "I don't
Yeah.
know if I can be there," but he's like, "I could probably send you Scott Butcher." And I was
There
like,
you go.
"Send Scott." Like, I own the
Yeah.
boat.
Yeah.
So, but
Nice.
you never know. That may or may not happen. I wouldn't put a whole lot of hope on it, just because they've got so much going on with that boat, trying to get it mass produced, getting ready to get to the dealers for this year, etc.
Sure.
But
Sure.
you never know.
Yeah.
If it's going to be there, I'm sure it'll get hyped up so people can come take a look at it and start bugging their dealers about it, because I guarantee you they're all accounted for. Just
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
knowing how the quota thing works now with them and how they purchase boats during the year. I know,
Yep.
like, Crescent basically sells all the boats that they intend to make a year before they do it.
Yep.
So
I think a lot of manufacturers are at that point now.
yeah, I mean, I know Old Town and Wildy have been struggling to keep up. Like Crescent, Feel Free, Vibe, they've been on top of it. I think it's a lot of it's how they're where they're manufactured, and how it's
Sure.
not one facility, which I think Feel
Yep.
Free is one facility. But
Feel Free's overseas.
yeah, so is Vibe.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
and
those two are overseas. The big thing with them is the shipping container crap, you know what I mean?
mm-hmm. That's our dealer. He's a businessman, like, through and through. Even before he got into fishing and kayak industry, um, he's the he's very smart with having an eye in the future. And, like, he doesn't play any games. When they told him about the whole container thing, he's like, "Fine, I want a whole container of boats, like, whole
Yep.
thing. Like,
Yep.
don't worry me about splitting the container. Just send me a
Yeah.
whole one. Like, I'll
Yep.
find a place for all the kayaks."
Right.
And this is going to be their first fishing expo, and I don't think he knows what he's got into. Like, I think he knows he's going to sell boats, because they sell tons of boats at the shop to begin with, and
Sure.
people drive down from Indiana, Michigan, because, like, Crescents, there's dealers are spread out. And like, when we did Hook One, the year that I worked the show in 19 or 20, no, it was beginning of 20, because it was right before COVID.
Right.
I think we brought 46 kayaks, and we didn't go home with any. It was 2 days.
That's sweet.
So I was telling him, man, like, you better be ready. You'll have a great show, but you may not have anything in the store. Like,
Right.
so plan accordingly. Like,
Definitely.
but yeah, man, we'll wrap it up. It's just a fun little show to say hey to everybody. We've been going for a little while. Fishing season. I'll come up with some shows. May talk to some of the big names in the kayak fishing world. See what they got coming up, how they're preparing and planning for the year. Hopefully get Drew back on with us to do some co-hosting and hang out and talk. He's been man, I just realized I never sent him the link tonight. That's probably why he didn't join. I just forgot about it. But they just had a kid, and everybody that's got children knows how
Congrats again to
crazy that
them, man.
is.
Yeah.
And they like, I'm not a big, like, religious person or nothing, but, like, Power of Prayer, anybody that was following along with them or as close to them, know that they had a chance for their baby to have a birth defect, and there was only like a 20% chance that she wouldn't have it, and sure enough, she hit that 20%, and she's perfectly fine. So
amen to that.
fan freaking tastic, dude.
Heck yeah.
But hopefully we get my man Drew back. I love doing them by myself, but it's always fun. That guy he loves to talk and he has tons of information, and I appreciate every bit of it. So
absolutely.
Well, that's about it for this week. No tournament coverage. I'm not really diving back off into that until the seasons get kicked up, which is just the end of this month. KBF gets fired off first with the Kissimmee Trail 1 and 2, the 10 Invitational, and then the 10, which is their end of the year thing.
Yeah, basically.
It's like an end of year, beginning of the year combo.
Right.
It's always cool to watch. I still think the 10 thing is one of the coolest things in kayak fishing because
absolutely,
like all paid, cool house, cool coverage, they get free shit. It's a cool event.
Yeah.
But I'm sure we'll cover that once we get a little closer to it. I'd like to talk to those, maybe even do a last minute show after the 10 Invitational if we can get whoever wins that, get their time for 15 minutes just to tell us what it's like down there, get the whole 10 house involved. Who knows?
Yeah, that'd be cool.
We'll have another fun year. Thanks again for everybody like normal that follows along for our craziness and everything. And anything else, Brian?
No, that's it, man. Welcome back, everybody. Have fun. Be safe. Have a good New Year.
That's right. Peace.
Thanks for tuning in to another killer episode on Paddle and Fin. Don't forget to go check out our website at paddle_and fin.com. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel at Paddle and Fin. If you got a question, comment, want to hear from a future guest on a future episode, feel free to email us at paddle_and fin@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Paddle and Fin on Facebook and Instagram. Shout out to our show supporters, Angler. The Angler button and app just makes for a better time on the water and creates a virtual logbook for every fishing outing out on the water. Shout out to Rocktown Adventures, located in northern Illinois, for all your kayaking, camping, and hiking needs. Shout out to Jig Masters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to Jigmasters.